Wilmington, being right next to one of the largest ports in the country, it's often overlooked. It's mostly seen as just like this place where people go work at the ports, work at the factories. It's never really seen as a community where people are living. It was only about 3 years ago that I really got my first step into it with CBE. When I first learned about hydrogen, it really caught my attention when I learned its dangers, and I kept learning about how it was going to be used and what troubles it was going to cause. And it's really hard for people to know this because it's not something that's so easily that people can just learn about. You really have to dig into it yourself if you want to know about it.
There are serious concerns with this approach, how it could impact low-income communities already burdened by pollution, and how it might create new environmental risks in the name of progress. To be sure that the renewable energy transition is just and equitable, we're going to have to ask the hard questions and demand transparency in the process. So let's start at the beginning. What is hydrogen? Hydrogen is a fuel source that can be used in place of traditional fossil fuels like gas and coal without producing carbon emissions when it's burned. But whether or not hydrogen is really clean depends on where you look. While there are no carbon emissions coming out of a power plant burning 100% hydrogen, for example, what it takes to produce, store, and deliver hydrogen tells a much more complicated story. There are three prominent types of hydrogen, which are categorized by their production methods and carbon emissions. The first is gray hydrogen. This is created using methane gas, which also emits carbon dioxide and other pollutants. The next is blue hydrogen, which is also created using methane gas, but attempts to capture and store some of the carbon dioxide released. Finally, there's green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is created from water using renewable energy like wind and solar, and this process releases only oxygen into the atmosphere. Less than 1% of hydrogen production in the US today is currently green hydrogen.
DWP and SoCalGas have projects that are very intrinsically intertwined. There's really no world in which SoCalGas would build the Angeles Link pipeline without the demand of DWP's power plants. SoCalGas's Angeles Link project is a network of pipelines built to transport hydrogen from the central and northern parts of the state down to Southern California. PSRLA has a lot of concerns with the Angeles Link project, primarily health and safety concerns for the communities that will be living nearby the infrastructure. These risks include fires and explosion risk, as well as air quality concerns for the communities near the combustion sites. The current pipelines that exist are not able to safely move hydrogen. Hydrogen is corrosive, so it embrittles the pipelines that we would currently use to transport natural gas. So that means we would need to build an entirely new network of pipelines. Hydrogen is one of the smallest molecules that exists. It can leak out a very small crack, and that means that it will be really hard to detect and prevent any leaks because you essentially need to have a perfectly solid pipeline to move it in.
So LADWP states that they will be developing a 100% green hydrogen system by 2035, with an intermediary step of burning a blend of 30% green hydrogen and 70% methane. But that seems unlikely. To produce green hydrogen at scale, even to reach the 30% goal, we need a massive amount of electricity, more than our current renewable system can handle. Mass production also requires clean water in a city that's already facing long-term drought. LADWP hasn't definitively said where this green hydrogen will come from, and there are serious concerns that if it doesn't materialize, they could end up relying on existing gray hydrogen sources. Regardless of what this energy system looks like in 10 years, it's unlikely that a truly clean energy system will materialize. LADWP's plans will give fossil fuel companies a continued foothold in our energy system. And glossing over these concerns is greenwashing, and our energy system risks looking like Tesla EV chargers running on gas generators.
The LA100 study actually recommended a variety of things that DWP could do to reduce or negate the need for hydrogen combustion, and really encouraged DWP to pursue these alternatives first because they are much more cost effective. I think DWP sees the combustion of hydrogen as a way to continue their operations that they've done for a very long time, burning gas, rather than challenging themselves to think outside the box and really reimagine what energy can look like in the city. They want to rely on something that they're familiar with. SoCalGas in particular, they have proven time and time again that they are not a good partner and they're not a good neighbor. I think it's really important for communities to have oversight into industrial operations that SoCalGas is planning to build, specifically because they have not demonstrated that they value community or that they are willing to invest in the kinds of safety measures needed to keep the community safe. I think if communities were able to decide how they wanted to get their energy, most communities would not choose hydrogen as the solution.
It's in a way kind of lying to our community about what options we have and what we can do. And in that way, it just feels wrong to have this a lie being pushed to us without giving us much of a different option. It's that we are the people that have to make it better because nobody else would listen to us. If we don't start acting now, these changes will come faster than we expect. We need to start showing up now and showing that we have voices and that we need to be heard. I think that as long as one person is able to stand up and speak out about what they believe in, other people will see that confidence and start gaining confidence themselves. It brings out a larger, bigger message where it gets harder and harder for people to ignore it. And eventually, at that point, it gets hard to ignore and change has to happen eventually.